Hi guys, welcome back and thank you for tuning in. Today I broke down for you an international student cost of living guide that is going to be very useful for you. Now, before we proceed and head into that guide, I would like to give you a small piece of advice. It's for you to prepare yourself with time. I want to give you a small anecdote that before my arrival to France, I would look up almost every day about different services that are provided by different providers in here in France. So if you can actually start by looking and searching on the internet, which are the different phone carriers, which are the different electricity providers or the different apartments, the options, please make sure to do that. Remember, preparation is key when you're a student. And scholarships are no exception. Studying abroad is no exception. So if you already got that acceptation or scholarship letter, make sure that you start doing your research so that way your stay as an international student is better and it flows smoother. Now, in this guide, I would also like to let you know that there's some expenses that are monthly, that are non-negotiable and that are more important than other ones. And there's other ones that can vary from one month to another and can vary in different scenarios. I can give you an idea of how much is it, but it depends to everyone's lifestyle and everyone's priorities. So without further ado, let's head on into that guide. The most important one, and we'll get it out of the way, is key when studying abroad, is rent. Here in France, there's an organization called COS, where you can get an affordable student dorm. Right now, I'm living in one of 9 square meters. I have a YouTube short on my TikTok account, some videos informing how does my room looks like and how does the shared kitchen looks like, or the laundry room. Those ones are shared, but I can actually wash and dry my clothes and I can utilize the kitchen. However, the bathroom is private. So I have my own bathroom here. I have what I need. I honestly can't complain. And I'm paying 265 euros a month. It's very affordable. I'm honestly paying less than I was paying in my developed home country. So please consider that. We might think that France is expensive, and it is to a certain extent. But if we do our research properly, we can find out really, really good options when studying abroad that can actually be adaptable for our budget. Now, I'm with COS, which is the public governmental one. There's also studios with COS of like 15 square meters that can cost you 400 euros a month. They are bigger and they have their own kitchen. So it's up to you. They're a little bit more private than these ones. But like I said, I have what I need here and I can't complain. If you don't have this one with COS, there's also the private rooms. You can rent a room for 400 euros a month. I have a colleague that she was renting it for that amount. She showed me her place and it was a really, really nice home. A really, really big room. And it was city center. The student dorm where I live is kind of like city center. So we live like 10 minutes by foot away from the city. So please consider that. And also consider that I'm living in Brest, a somewhat relatively affordable city here in France. It's not a town that is like super affordable, super cheap, but it is not Paris at the same time. In Paris, you can get rooms for 400 to 700, sometimes 900 euros a month if you're in the city center. So consider where you'll be living, whether it's in a capital city or a mid-range city or a small town. Additionally to COS, there's also the CAF, which is the CAF. It is a public assistance. If you, for instance, arrive here in France without a scholarship, I highly advise you to apply to different public governmental assistance. Don't be shy. Don't be afraid of applying. They know you're unemployed. They know you're a student. And I'm telling you this because I have a colleague who's French who told me that he applied to this assistance and he was paying 135 euros a month for rent. So please consider that. And also, as for an unexpected expense on your first month in France, one of the requirements for you to arrive here and get the student visa is for you to have a place assured. So if you haven't rented your place before arriving to France, the room that you'll be living, the student dorm, you'll have to rent an Airbnb for like a week. In my case, this Airbnb costed me like 200 euros and I just stayed for 1 week. So you can definitely see that Airbnbs are much more expensive than a student dorm. So consider that expense on your first month. Another expense that you should consider on your first month is the TLS, the Visa de Titre de Long Séjour. It's pretty much a confirmation that you arrived in France and yet that you'll be staying there for 1 year. It costed me 50 euros. That is only on the first month. Also consider all type of photocopies that you have to, whenever you have to print out. That is the expense that I have every month because I go to certain restaurants, for instance, and leave my resume. Is food. It's the second most important one and the second most expensive one. Personally, I eat mostly from home. Please learn how to cook. And if you already know, make sure that when you arrive here, you'll be cooking. If you can meal prep so that you can cook, let's say Sundays for certain days of the week, that is better because you'll be saving time. And then you only microwave your food. But please make sure to cook and also make sure to buy in big quantities. Make sure you buy in big quantities. Instead of buying 1 pound of rice for 50 cents of a euro, why not buy the whole kilogram of rice for €1.50? Another advice that I can give you is take advantage of sales. So right now, as I'm recording this video, it's in January. We have the leftover sales of December, what wasn't sold on Christmas. And I bought like luxury European chocolates for like 25 euros, and I have chocolates for like 6 months. And the best brands that you can imagine, Ferrero Rocher, Milka, this type of like really, really nice, delicious chocolate. Make sure you do that with non-perishable food. I've realized that pretty much all the food that we consume is non-perishable. You won't do that, of course, with fruits and vegetables and meat and dairies, but the rest of the food you can definitely buy for months, for several months. Also, leave a budget for you to eat out restaurants. I know it can be very contradictory for the idea of you saving money, but remember that it's also good for you to socialize, to start developing your network, and for you to have a nice time there, and it's good for your mental health. So try to spend maybe 150 euros a month on the supermarket, which, by the way, this already includes hygiene products on your groceries. But also leave 20 to 30 euros a month for you to eat out at restaurants and bars with your colleagues, with your Erasmus, with your student dorm neighbors. Make sure you do that. The third element, and here's where the guide definitely lowers down the prices, because the expenses are way much lower, but you still need to consider them, is the public transportation. This one can actually be waived if you live in the city center because Europe is very walkable. I personally don't utilize a public monthly pass when it comes to transportation, but I can tell you the prices. For instance, here in Brest, it's 42 euros a month if you're not a student. If you're a student, you have a discount and you pay 30 euros a month. However, you paid it yearly, you end up paying 22 euros with 50 cents a month. Because if you divide 270 euros, which is the cost of the yearly pass, into 12, you end up paying that amount. So basically, they gift you 3 months if you paid all at once. In Paris, the public transportation is higher. They've told me that is sometimes even higher than 80 euros, the standard one. And for a student, it goes around 50 euros a month. It's up to you. And of course, there's public assistance when it comes to the public transportation. I have a colleague who paid 54 euros for the entire year. She only applied because she didn't have a job back then. And she was granted this assistance. And it goes to as little as 4 euros a month. The fourth element for you to consider is the phone bill. Now, here is another first month expense that you need to consider is the 10 euro SIM card. I personally have had issues with the phone bill. That is a con that I found so far in France. The coverage in general isn't as good as I thought it was. And not only did I pay my SIM card, I had to switch carriers because my phone coverage doesn't work here in France. Make sure you do that before you arrive, especially if you bought your phone a second hand, like a refurbished used phone. Make sure that it has coverage in France, because if not, you'll most likely have to get a budget phone here in France when you arrive. And then you pay the 10 euro monthly phone bill for 5 gigabytes and unlimited phone calls. Now I'm paying one of 2 euros, which is 2 gigabytes and 2 hours of phone calls. It's pretty good. I can't complain. Fifth element for you to consider is health. Now, health in France is public. It doesn't mean that it's free. It's paid with the citizens' taxes. But you can get a really, really good public assistance covered. And the best part is it's very complete in the sense that dental and eye assistance are included to a certain extent. So as you have the private one, it's called mutuel. It's not that it's private, but it's like an upgrade from the public assistance. You pay a relatively small amount per month, and you can actually get covered your glasses and your brackets, for instance, or a certain amount reimbursed when it comes to your dental assistance. And if your glasses are affordable, we could say, like of a certain catalog, you can get reimbursed for your glasses. So I honestly advise you to consider those options when studying abroad. See which countries have an affordable health insurance and which one don't. France has one of the best public health systems in the world. The sixth element is clothing and self-care products. This one is very tricky because whenever we see France, we think about really nice, expensive fashion design clothing. And yes, there is, don't get me wrong, in the city center, there's certain pieces of 200 euros. However, it's up to you. You can get certain pieces in Primark for 10 to 15 to 20 euros. If you're not satisfied with Primark's quality, there's other options. There's also secondhand clothing stores, and there's also Amazon and Temu if you want to buy them online. It's up to you, but I advise you to leave maybe 30 euros a month. I'm someone personally who loves using skincare, retinol, consuming vitamin D, creatine, and all that is included on the budget, because I don't buy them every month. Maybe it's once a year. And last but not least, make sure that you go out, that you have some budget for going not only to restaurants and bars like I mentioned previously, but also for you to maybe go to a movie theater or to a park or to a museum. Also consider that you're an international student. They know that students most of the time don't have a salary or a low salary. There's a lot of events that are free. Investigate yourself, look up on the internet, enroll yourself in different clubs, groups. There's the Erasmus network in several cities in Europe that you should consider when studying abroad. And lastly, if you have an extra budget, consider leaving and saving some money for traveling. It's a huge opportunity. In Europe, you can travel from one place to another very easily, from one country to another as well, very affordable. As last piece of advice that I can give you is to save money. Have a budget for you to save money when you're a student, so that in the future you can actually have a emergency fund. I think it's going to be very important for you to know that, especially when you'll be studying abroad, it can be very tempting for you to spend money, since you'll be out far away from your parents, for instance. You're no longer supervised and you think you're an adult, which you are. But at the same time, make sure that you have all your needs covered for if an emergency happens. I had the situation that my phone broke and I had to pay 290 euros to have the camera repaired. Luckily, I had money saved. I always had that habit and I was able to get it repaired. So this was the guide. I really hope you guys enjoy that. Please leave a comment, subscribe, like the video. And if you would like to know more information about my experience getting scholarships and who I am, watch these videos that I did in the former month. Thank you.